Welcome to Bending Over Backwards with James Adkins. I'm your host, Dr. James Adkins, where each week we take a deep dive into what it takes to break through barriers and change the game, whether that's in medicine, business, or life. Today I'm sitting with Scotty Scheller, who is a pretty important influencer in our community, is a former professional hockey player, an all-around good human being, and a man of God, which I really appreciate, and also a person who helped me start our social media program. So thanks for coming today, man.
No, thank you. I mean, what an introduction. And like, did you rehearse your intro? Like, did we write that? Like, how did you get that?
I think you did.
That was really good. Like, that was a great intro. Like, I would have butchered that. So good on you.
You're kind. You're kind. Building my confidence. Thank you.
No, of course.
But I'm going to jump right into it. So I know you, but I'm really on a superficial level. I mean, I met you many times. I feel like I know the type, your character, just from being around you and some of your values, but I don't really know your story. I know that your parents are from Aspen, you mentioned to me one time. I don't know if you grew up in Aspen. I know they live in Tucson. I know you had a serious injury. You used to play for the Coyotes. So take me back along the important milestones in your life, where you were born, who influenced you? You know, who's one of your mentors, and then the whole hockey story.
Yeah.
Give me some feedback.
Yeah. So, I mean, my story is really interesting because I never really had a plan of action. I never really had a determining factor in my life where I was like, this is where it's going to go. You know, it was kind of like I grew up, my parents both developed in the hotel industry. And so we moved all over the place. We lived everywhere. Pretty normal kid, went through high school, went through middle school. And, yeah, I guess at the end of high school, I really got into, or middle high school, I really got into hockey, and I was really kind of like, that was what I wanted to pursue, and that was what I was going to go for. And that was, that was it. You know, when you decide on something, I'm one of those guys that if you just put your mind to it, it's going to happen. And I'm always very blissfully optimistic about everything. So I was like, oh yeah, I can make this whatever I want to do with it. And so I started playing hockey and, kind of developed into that world. And as it got closer and closer and I got better and better, we got involved with the Coyotes organization and the alumni and all of those guys. And we were kind of like, playing around with them. And, it was just a blast to play with the alumni of the Coyotes and learn all those guys and, just like get to be around those guys and really like get inspired to play with them. And, unfortunately that, came to an end pretty quick because we ended up getting hurt on the ice, breaking my neck.
Serious injury.
It was a little one. And it kind of threw my life into a whirlwind of, what do I do now? Because your identity is so key in your life. And I realized that my entire identity was, I'm going to do this. That's all I'm going to do. And, like I said, blissfully optimistic. I started late than everybody, but I was getting there.
That was your dream.
That was it. That was what I wanted to do.
And this is what, you're 18, 19, 20 years old, 21?
Yeah, I mean, that was 17? I was 17, 18 years old. And so...
Because hockey players commit early.
Hockey players start when they're like 3.
Yeah.
So I was late, and I got into the game when my dad started playing like a long time ago. And I grew up with it, but I really started playing when I was in high school and really getting serious about it.
Okay.
And then once the injury happened, it was kind of like, wake up one morning, and what was weird is and you know how the neck works, it's all nerves. So people don't realize like it's not like any other injury. It's not like you get it and it's just an acute injury. It's like you get hurt on your neck, everything shuts off. So we didn't really even know what was going on because all of a sudden I wake up one morning and I can't see. And it's like, that's probably not good. That comes back. And then the next day, my digestive system's a mess. And up until this point, I have no problems. Like, I'm good.
Yeah.
And then I wake up the next morning and, I just feel like I can't get out of bed. My entire body's achy. And we're getting blood work done. And they're like, we're not seeing anything. Like, there's nothing here. There's nothing there. Like, we obviously see that you have a neck injury. We've obviously taken care of that. And it was just like, okay, well,
peculiar symptoms though. So you're having, because you're right. And that's the, a lumbar spine injury where a patient has compression to the nerves in their lumbar spine versus the neck, radically different. That's why the surgical procedures and the care that a surgeon or a physician takes with a neck versus a low back, it's a different deal. It's a tighter space. Your spinal cord's there. A lot of people don't realize in a low back, your spinal cord ends about the second lumbar vertebrae. And so you can have serious injuries below that with compression on your nerves and your cord and not such a big deal. When it's in your neck, it's a big deal. You lose control of your bladder, lose control of your bowels. You start getting sick all the time, breathing problem, like you're saying, peculiar symptoms. But go ahead.
Exactly.
It is, and it confuses physicians
100%.
frequently. You probably went through that.
I went through it 100% because I mean, I was in and out of hospitals for 5.5 years, and I lost my 20s. I tell everybody, like, I don't know what it's like to be a 20-year-old to a 25-year-old.
Because of all these symptoms.
All the symptoms. I was
seeing different types of doctors,
Exactly.
not knowing what's wrong.
Exactly. I mean, I was a 180-pound guy that dropped to 138 pounds just because like my entire day would be in bed, get up, go to the bathroom, back in bed, and then go to hospital, do check-ins, do blood work. Nothing wrong with you. Go
That's
home.
early 20s.
That was early 20s.
Those are some important times for personal development, self-esteem, young men figuring out what they want to do.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I mean, I'm going through this entire process, and it was kind of like that's when depression sets in. You know, it's like, am I ever going to get better? You know, there's everybody always says it, and it takes a situation like this to understand why people say, like, you know, making money is awesome, but the #1 billionaire in the world, if he loses his health, will give his billions back to get his health back.
Absolutely.
And you see that, and it took that happening to me to understand that sentence, and I was like, I just want to be better. Like, I don't care. Like, I will give anything back. Just give me a life. And, you know, unfortunately, like, the medical system just kept failing me over and over and over again. I mean, I traveled all over the place. I went to every hospital. I was in Mayo clinics. I was in everything, and nobody could tell me what was wrong. And then I'm getting blood work done, and like, oh, you've got your testosterone levels are in the 200s. I'm like,
I'm 21.
I'm 21. Like, that should not be. And then they're like, well, it's on the low end of normal. I'm like, low end of normal?
Yeah.
Like, okay, like, that doesn't make any sense.
I was a professional hockey player.
Yeah, I thought I was. I thought I was decent. I feel masculine, but apparently not. And it was just like symptom after symptom after excuse after excuse, and I just kind of gave up at the end of it. And I was like, you know, that was kind of when I leaned on faith, and it was this little voice in the back of my head that was like, you know, you can do this by yourself. Like, you can figure this one out.
Wow.
And I was like,
that's pretty evolved at 21, man.
It was interesting. It was an interesting take.
Was your faith strong before that?
No.
Did this yeah.
It opened it up, because I mean, I was born and raised Catholic, but you know, I kind of fell away from the Catholic Church. It just wasn't my thing. It never felt right to me.
Me too.
It just we're recovering Catholics. And it just never felt right to me. And so I kind of distanced myself from it. And at this point I had no faith. It wasn't anything. And there was just this small voice that was like, you know, you've got this, you can figure this one out. And I was like, okay. But at the same time, I had written my suicide note. That was like, I was over it. I was like, you know, if I'm not going to figure this out in 6 months, I'm done. I'm checking out. Like, and I made a commitment. I was like, you know, because at the end of the day, I was dead already. You know, like, I wasn't living a life. What's the point in being here? Just wasting time.
Man.
You know, and I had given up, but there was that small voice that was like, give it 6 months. And like, for some reason in my head, it was like, learn everything you possibly can about yourself. And I said, okay. So I invested as much money as I possibly could, got every book I possibly could on the human body, everything I could on the cervical neck, everything I could like, literally I took myself back to college, and I was like, I'm just going to learn as much as I possibly can here. And through doing that, I started learning little tips and tricks on people who had been in the same position as me, or, you know, just like learning from podcasts of other guys who had gone through the same thing, and started implementing it on me. And what was crazy is it started to work. Like, I was getting better, but I wasn't realizing it because I was just in the moment. Like, I was like, I'm just going to try this thing, just try it and help and just do this thing. And I was blessed enough to have friends that were coming to me and being like, hey, like, how you doing? Like, how's it going? Like, any better? And you know, through them asking me questions about how you doing, how you feeling, getting better, I would find out that their families were struggling with things. It'd be like, you know, my mom, you know, she's had, you know, autoimmune conditions their entire life, or this or that. And I was like, oh, well, you know, I read a study 2 weeks ago, didn't do anything for me, but they mentioned this, see if this would help her. And I'd get a call back in like 2 weeks, like, dude, like, your advice helped her. Like, she's in remission, like, all like everything, like little things like that kept happening over and over and over again. Even if like the information that I was collecting wasn't helping me, I was helping somebody else. And that made me feel incredible. And all of a sudden you have this power that's like, okay, maybe we've got something here. And I just kept doing that over and over and over again, and then completely forgot about my symptoms. But then when I looked back after about 6 months, I was like 90% better, and I had a business. That's
so interesting, Scott. You know, I could talk about all day about what you're talking about. When I used to see patients, one of the gifts of being a healthcare provider, being a doctor, one of the gifts is that you hear people all day long sharing with you their problems, and you realize how little yours are. And then if you're fortunate enough to be able to give them advice to help them, wow, what a gift! I mean, I'm giving somebody information like you're just describing to help another human being, and how good does that feel? In fact, there's a pretty famous neuroimmunologist that used to be at NIH. Her name was Candace Burt, and she discovered the conscious equivalent of human thought, a neuropeptide. And her research, they proved that when you consciously try to help another human being, it raises your own lymphocyte levels, your own white blood cells. So God designed us. When we're trying to help people, it helps us.
Yep.
You're going through, you're in this depression, this low moment, you're this struggling as a young man, fractured neck, you're going to be a professional hockey player, it's taken away. And you find that when you're getting information that you can help other human beings with, you start to heal.
Absolutely. And
That's powerful.
it was funny because it wasn't something that I wanted to do. You know,
No,
it wasn't
it's
like,
natural.
it was just natural. And it was funny because like once I got out of the hospital and I got better, quote unquote, it was like, I've now got clientele that I don't know what to do with. Like it was like, I've got this, I'm a certified personal trainer because I believe if you can teach something, you can learn it. And so I got certified in everything I possibly could. And I've got all these certifications and I've got a full business. I've got an entire client book of like 50 to 80 people that are depending on me. I'm like, I'm not a trainer. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm like, what do I do here? Like, I'm good at what I do and I have the information just like yourself. It's like, once you have the information, people pay you for the information.
Sure.
But I was like, I don't really want to do this anymore. And I was, at this point, I still wasn't like religious. I had no like faith, but I was like, you know, God, if you want me to keep going on this, like I'll keep going on it, but give me every reason in the world to keep going and take it away if there's no reason. And I had another buddy of mine who had just gotten out of school. He was some kind of like, not in the medical practice, but I think he was like a doctor of nutrition or something like that. And he was like, I'm looking to build my clientele up. And he was just having a conversation with me. I was like, I've got clientele. Like, would you like to, you know, find a way to do this? And he was like, yeah, I just set up my business. Like, this is it. And I basically went to each one of my clients. I was like, hey, I'm thinking about transferring into like another state of work, but I've got this guy who's actually out of school. This is what he does. Would you like to go to him? And it was such a seamless transition that God was like, yeah, just go. Like,
Made it easy.
yeah, just made it easy on me. And I was like, okay, transition him out. But then identity's gone again. And I didn't realize, I didn't set anything up here. I've always been that guy, though, that I'm very competitive and if you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to do it, and very hard-headed. And I was sitting down with another buddy, and he's like, so what are you going to do now that you don't have a business? You sold these people off. I'm like, I have no idea. He's like, yeah, I mean, you've got a nice smile. You should be a male model. I was like, I'm not going to be a male model. And he goes, yeah, you probably couldn't do it to begin with. And I was like, oh, you had to say that part. And so I was like, I guess I'm going to become a male model. And I had no idea what I was doing. Like I said, I'm just transitioning, just kind of going through life.
Scotty, you have a face for being a male model. No, I don't.
I have dark rooms, male modeling. Yeah, exactly. But I just started taking photos and kind of getting them out to places and just seeing what would happen, and nothing really happened. And at this point, it was kind of getting to the point of COVID, and I was like, you know, I have no idea what I'm doing here. This is I'm just gonna, you know, throw a Hail Mary, and I'm going to start shooting commercials for people, but even if they didn't hire me, I'm just going to shoot commercials and send them to people.
Okay.
And I started shooting commercials for Nike, for Built Basics, for Cuts Clothing, for Express, for any supplement brand that I like taking, because I loved, you know, all the brands that I already took. I was like, I already love this stuff. Yeah, I was like, I already love this stuff. I might as well shoot it. And I started just sending stuff out and getting email replies like, oh, we love this. We'd love to run it. We'd love to do this with it. We'd love to do that with it. I'm like, there's something here. And when God gives you a little bit of a good job, you run toward that.
Yes.
And I just did it over and over and over again. And during COVID, when everything shut down and nobody could shoot commercials, I was the guy everybody went, well, there was this guy who was shooting commercials for us. Let's just send him product and get commercials. And so when everything shut down in COVID, I was just like the guy that was thriving because now I'm getting every contract I'd want. And I built up my name in the UGC space, the user-generated content space. I was kind of like the first guy to start doing that. And it just gets bigger and bigger. And I'm one of those guys who believes in skill stacking. So as you do something, just make it bigger and bigger and bigger. And I learned that, ad work is, what these guys need. They need the content, they need the ads, they need to be on camera. And
And
add
everybody's
those.
not comfortable on camera.
Exactly. And it's okay, because it's
I
new.
certainly am not.
You are now. I mean, you don't give yourself enough credit. That's what we need to talk about here. Is like you don't give yourself enough credit. But it was just kind of like it built into something that I did not expect my life was going to go in this direction, but it worked. And so I was like, I believe that you should do the thing that you're the absolute best at with the least amount of effort. And this literally takes no effort on my life, and it's just fun, and it pays, and I can actually make an impact on people's lives. So why change it?
Sure.
And like that's where we're at now. Is I've been running my own company now for 5.5 years, and
you're you're all over the U.S. You're in different countries.
We're
you said
everywhere.
Australia. You work people in Europe too, I guess.
Everywhere.
Yeah. And how would you describe yourself as you're an influencer that's an entrepreneur? I mean, and you also do some acting.
Yeah. I mean, what's funny is I don't even know what I am. When it's fun because when my mom asked me what should I tell my friends that you do, and I'm like, I'm a content creator, and then she told her friend that, and she goes, is he doing porn? And I was like, well, I got to figure out what to say now. I can't say that anymore. So yeah, I just I say I just create content. I help develop people's content, and I help develop people's personal brands more than anything. And when I see somebody who, not that they lack a certain characteristic that they need, I know that they have it in them. And so I like to sit down with people and I pull the best version out of you that the world needs to see. And so, yeah, now I'm just a brand builder and a content creator and quote unquote influencer, if people still like that word. And yeah, just living day to day.
Cool. So I know I'm a big routine guy. That's what allows me to have more bandwidth and handle the different things I want to handle in my life. So I like to talk to people about their routines. What's your morning routine like?
Yeah.
Do you have are you pretty regimented with that? Or, I mean, I know you said Emmanuel was saying she's a walker and you like to walk and communicate with your clients and that's a way that you get inspiration. But how do you start your day?
Yeah, I mean, day starts with gratitude every single day. I mean, I think that's the one thing that you have to start with, and it's a non-negotiable for me. Like it is non-negotiable. You wake up, you say thank you for everything, and it's the littlest things. It's like you step out of bed, you put your feet on the floor. Thank you that I have a carpet on my floor. Get to the bathroom. It's like turn the faucet on.
Not a dirt floor. I'm not living in Africa looking for food.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Go into the bathroom, turn the water on. Oh, there's water coming out. That's insane.
You literally say that mentally in your
every
mind.
single day.
Thank you for
Thank
I got
you
to
for
wake
everything.
up today, God. Thank you for my feet hitting the ground.
Everything I do is thankful until I lose it. Until like, because you're gonna do it enough where I've said thank you enough kind of thing, and you kind of and then you get into the busy work.
Yeah.
And
that's
so
cool.
yeah,
that's cool. I'm gonna co-op that.
You have to,
That's
man,
good stuff.
because you start in such it's just thankfulness. So then once you get your coffee and you're going, it's like nothing can hurt you. You've got so much grace and you're built up, and you realize that nothing's that bad. And this in working with spinal centers, it's people take this for granted when you can just
moving.
You can think you don't have to think about moving.
So
there was times where it was like I would wake up and
you've had that taken away from you.
that didn't happen.
Yeah.
So when you think about that, nothing hurts you anymore.
Yeah.
And so after I do a lot of the gratitude stuff, wash my face, kind of get cleaned up, take a shower if I need to. Out of that, I'm a big coffee guy. So I always have to start with a cup of coffee.
A little epinephrine injection.
Got
coffee
to.
injection.
Everybody says wait 90 minutes. I can't wait 30.
I don't either.
I just go for it. I have to. Espresso every single morning. Get an espresso going, and then I go straight into the Bible. Normally, I do a little bit of Bible time. I like to, at least have... I like to start with as much positivity as I possibly can before I even look at my phone, before I do any of that stuff, just because the world's going to hit you with a bunch of stuff. Don't look at emails. Don't start like that.
So true.
So by the time that all that's over, I'm so in grace. I'm so in excitement. I'm ready to tackle my day. No matter what I look at next, whether email, social media, whatever, it's going to be great. It's going to be great to me.
But you have. I like how you've programmed your brain with positive stuff before you. I mean, I think the worst thing we can do, and I've been guilty of it. I'm trying to break that. Is to pick up your phone because you're going to see some sensationalism. You're going to see the media wants to grab us with something negative or something sensational, right? That sucks us in. And then your brain's going down that pathway before you've ever thanked God that you're alive today.
Yep.
I love how you're hacking that. You're starting with positivity first, so you get your brain going in that pathway before you allow the world to interface with you.
And we're creatures of habit, you know, like, and so, because I'm guilty of it as well. Like if my phone is near me, I will check it. And so my phone's in the other room next to the coffee machine, you know, it's like, it's behind, it's out of the way. So I won't even see it for the first like little bit that I'm awake. So I don't even have a choice.
Yeah.
So by the time that I get to the coffee, it's like, okay, it's there, turn on the Bible, listen to it. And then I can do all my stuff while I'm doing all that. So yeah, I mean, once I'm done with that, it's kind of like just get into the day. You know, I'm not one of those guys who has a 7-hour morning routine. It's kind of like, you know, get up, do your thing.
That's a problem.
Yeah. It's just get up, get your coffee, and then get to work, you know, and it could be, I'm on a podcast. If I'm on a flight, I got to get to a flight. If I'm shooting content, I'm doing the content. If I'm writing scripts, I'm writing scripts. Or if I'm just talking to clients, I'm just talking to clients. Every day is a little bit different, which is fun. And I think that's how I have to thrive like that, because I have such bad ADHD. So it cannot be the same thing every single day. And that's, I think, why I've found the success is because every day is unique.
Sure.
You know, every day is fun. Every day is a new story, because at the end of the day, everybody wants their life to look like a puzzle, or their day-to-day to look like a puzzle. But the problem with a puzzle is it can only look like one thing. So if you get it wrong or you lose a piece, it's over. You know, my thing is like, I like to look at life like a box of Legos, because if I'm building something and I lose a piece, I can just break it down and throw away the instructions and build something fun.
That's practical.
You know, so
how do you do that while we're on that thread? Because a bomb's going to get dropped in your lap. Like you said, you're going to, you know, you live a little longer. I'm a little older than you. You're going to get punched in the gut. It's going to happen. And yeah, I'm sure you've had it happen already. What do you, how do you, when something bad happens, you know, what's your recovery like? How do you do that? What's your best way of dealing with something traumatic hits you in the day? Do you have, what's your routine for that?
Yeah. So, I mean, it really kind of depends on the situation.
Sure.
Normally, what I've found for myself and what I've found that helps a lot of people is we tend to react too quick. You tend to make a big situation bigger by just reacting to it. Instead, I like to take a second. I always say, you know, take a breath. Does this have to be done now? And if I have time, if it's a big situation, I'll go to the gym. Even if it's 30 minutes, just get the blood going, you know, like get a little bit of tension out, and then then I come back and I've got a little bit more of a clear head. If it needs to be taken care of right then, it's close your eyes, 3 deep breaths. God, this is your vision for my life. I know that this is your plan.
That's good stuff.
Let's tackle the plan together. Because at the end of the day, like you can look at faith and you can look at religion, you can look at however you want to. You can look at it as voo-voo, whatever you want to. End of the day, you've got to go through it. So if you have somebody that you can kind of lean on and go, I'm not alone right now. I need your vision. I need you to walk with me through this. That calms me down immediately, because I'm not alone.
So true. You know, I always say never solve your problems when your energy's low. You know, the worst thing, you know, you're tired and then you get something bad happens. Trying to solve it right then. Not a good thing. You know, you got to wait till you have more energy, or like you said, pray, exercise, meditate. Sometimes it doesn't hurt to sleep on it.
Not at all.
You know, sleep can give you some, you know, I think going to bed, you know, my wife and I say you don't want to argue and go to bed. That's not a good thing. But sleep's good. You know, it can give you, you know, but solving your problems when your energy's low is a bad idea.
No,
you know, it's a problem.
And I always say, like, I love living in the flow state where it feels like time just kind of like goes on. And so I like to solve my problems in the flow state, because I know that that's where I am my most like on the dot. Things are going to get done kind of situation. And so like once I put myself in a flow state, I'm like, I can take care of this in flow state. And luckily, like when you get to a point where you have people around you who you can lean on or that are on your team, you can kind of like, you can push off a negative situation a little bit longer. So if a bomb gets dropped, I can have somebody on my team handle it while I kind of, you know, get ready for battle.
Yeah.
And then once I'm ready for it, it's like, hey, I'll step in now. Yeah. You know, and then I can tackle it. It's a blessing to have people like that on your team. And it's a blessing when you get to that point where you're not alone anymore.
So true.
But I also think that that's one thing that everybody should thrive and strive for, is to get a team like that behind you where you can lean on somebody and say, hey, I'm in the batter's box. I need you to take this for a second, you know, like, and you need to walk away. and then come back because now you're clear and now you're ready to be the leader.
Yeah, yeah. You want to show up right for your team,
100%.
and it's so true. I think about in my 30 plus years of being in business, the teams I've had, how they've evolved, how intelligent the people are, how capable the human beings are around me today versus when I started. And I'm referring to myself too, because I wasn't very competent or capable when I started. But having smart people on your team that know what they're doing, that can support you is just business and life's a lot easier. I mean, you know,
100%.
it is hard to solve problems with dumb people. I hate to say that.
I can say
or
I'm probably
unmotivated people around you, because you just it's pulling a rock up the mountain.
Yeah.
Versus having people. I work with a lot of people that are more intelligent than me, and man, does it make my life better.
I'm probably one of the dumbest people on my team. The cool part
I
is
doubt that.
the cool part is I'm very good at leading people. So
Yeah.
I'm a dumb guy that's great at leading smart people.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think it's being okay with not knowing everything.
Yeah.
I think that's like one of the best.
And being honest about it.
Exactly.
Because in medicine, whoa, the worst thing in medicine for physicians, the worst thing for a doctor, there's most so insecure, and me so insecure, is not knowing the answer and being afraid to be honest about it. Now I think there's times are changing, and it's more. It's cooler now to be honest about, hey man, I just don't have all the answers versus in medicine, if you don't have the answer, a lot of times you're insecure and you start using big words and try to make everyone around you feel dumb. When in reality, you're just looking dumber, but being honest about not knowing, not knowing what's going to happen as an entrepreneur. Hey man, I could do all this my whole life, work all these years, and it never worked. And learning to be comfortable with that, and learning to be comfortable with, you talked about with your injury. I love how, strong, virile men today, sharp, good-looking men, accomplished men will say, "Hey, man, I get depressed.
100%.
I get anxiety. Some days I wake up and I feel like the world's coming down, and how am I going to get through this? And that's everybody.
And understand that there are bad things that happen to you every day, and it happens every day to people, and like I'm quoted a lot saying that there's no bad days. I don't believe that there are bad days. I believe that there's bad situations, and what you do with the situations, what's going to dictate the day.
Sure.
But there are bad things that happen. It's like be okay with being the guy who cries. Be okay with being the guy. Like, you're a human. Like, you're a man, you're a woman, you're a human. It doesn't matter. Like, there are days where I just don't want to do things. There are days where I wake up and I have a knot in my chest because I have to take care of something.
Yeah.
And it's scary, and it's scary to be a person.
It is.
It's scary to be an adult.
Yeah.
But you still have to do it.
Take
and
that
that's
step.
That's the thing is and you step out in faith, and you step out in, a lot of people say they want to wait for motivation, but motivation's not what comes first. Action comes first, and then motivation follows.
So true.
So the easiest way to understand that one is, have you ever cleaned your house? Well, you probably didn't want to clean your house, but the second you put a dish away, you figure out you kind of need to put the rest of the dishes away. But now you're in action, so you get the rest of the dishes done.
Yeah.
You just take action. Like,
Or
no
people
matter what.
who habitually go to the gym. I know you're one of those people. I'm one of those people. Most of the time, I don't want to go.
No.
But I never, ever felt worse leaving. I mean, it just
Exactly.
never happens. You
Exactly.
always feel so much, just more confident, more capable, just happier. Your affect, your mood is just so much better.
Exactly. And it's like the same thing with like cold plunging. Cold plunging sucks. I hate it. But I think that you should do something that you hate every day, just because you're going to come to those times in your life where you don't want to do something. So if you can force yourself to do things that you don't want to do daily and build that like mental callus, life just kind of gets a little easier.
So true. So true. So let me hop skip over here to another topic. What's on the horizon for you, man? I mean, I know. Again, I know you're a growth-minded person. And I know that you're building your company. You've worked with us. You work with What's the next step for you?
Yeah. I think the next step is just it's scaling outward. It's not It's funny when people ask that question. A lot of times, I feel like you have to have this giant, robust answer, and I'm okay with just being like, I'm just growing. That's it. Growing as a leader, growing as an entrepreneur, growing as an influence, growing, the brands that I've got underneath me and growing like other people's brands alongside them. I think it's just getting bigger and getting better and then learning. I think that's what's next for me is just learning what it takes to skill stack. What's the next skill that I have to master? And I think right now, what's like, I've been really focused on communication in the last like 6 months, where it's, you need to be an expert communicator. You need to be an expert communicator. And what I've broken down is that means listening. And so I'm trying to listen a lot more and, take in more information than I, blow out, because at the end of the day, if I have more information, I can share more information. So I think just personally, that's what I'm doing right now. But the business side, that's just scaling it.
Being a listener, I'm married, I know, that may be a lifelong aspiration. My wife tells me to become
I don't think I'm ever going to be perfect at
it.
Yeah. I don't think I'm ever going to be that good at it, honestly. But yeah, I'm a guy who likes to talk. So we'll see how it works.
So what would be, I'll get you the last couple questions here.
Yeah.
What would be, what would someone be surprised to find out about you, Scotty?
Something that people would be surprised to find out on
Scotty.
me.
What would someone, to find out about you, someone who knew you maybe, thought they knew you, to find this out about Scotty? What do you think that would be?
That's a good
stumping
question.
you?
You're stumbling me, man.
Okay, all right.
Man, you're getting me on this one. I think that a lot of people see me and they think confidence, and they don't understand that it's not a every day you wake up and you're confident. I think it's one of those things that I have to put on every day, and I have to develop it throughout the day, and I have to, really fall into it. I don't think I naturally am confident. I'm not naturally.
That's a confident statement.
I'm just not. I think my thing is I'm not afraid to look stupid, and I'm not afraid to fall over and fail.
Yeah.
And so even if I'm not confident in something, I will still do it just because I'm like, what's the worst that's going to happen?
Yeah.
And through that, I think that gives me confidence. But when you first talk to me, I'm very good at like talking on camera. I'm very good at like being in front of people. But end of the day, it's like I still get like sitting down this. I've done thousands of interviews. I still get that little bubble gut that's like, oh, this could be fun.
You couldn't tell, but it's an expiring attribute, isn't it? It's not something that you attain it and you keep it. It's a skill that I love the way you described it. It's something that you're building on a day-to-day basis, because I try to teach my 2 young sons that, confidence can't be faked. You earn it, and you earn it, like you're saying, it's earned on maybe an hourly basis, or certainly a daily basis, of doing those things you don't want to do, of being willing to look silly, being honest about your insecurities or the challenges you go through in life. That builds, and like you said, stacking those successes, overcoming challenges in your life gives you confidence, doesn't it? I mean, when you do something you don't want to do and you just keep doing it, the cold plunge of suffering through 2.5 minutes and 45-degree water. I did it this morning. You just keep doing that, and pretty soon you start feeling you can do about anything.
That's what I'm saying, and it's funny because just going back to the whole confident man thing. I think that we're in such a world of men are starting to realize that they don't have to be super tough. But I also think that we're in a world where guys think that not being super tough is the tough thing. And so it fights itself a little bit, where you got these guys who are like, yeah, like you got to get up and you got to, like, I love David Goggins, but then it's like the polar opposite is also true. True. It's like you also have to be vulnerable as a man, and that's confidence as well. So confidence could be who's gonna carry the boats, but confidence is also, I need to lighten my heart up and let somebody in right now.
Soften up that stone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you have to have like a good mix of both, or else you're just not a human being. And I feel like a lot of times when you're polar one way, it's the insecurity of the other one. So trying to find that balance in myself is definitely one of those things that I'm kind of fighting for
I
right
think
now
you're
too.
doing pretty well as a young man, Scotty.
Appreciate it, man.
Hey man, how do people find you? Because you're an up and coming guy. You're not up and coming. You're already there. But how do people find you?
Yeah, I mean, easiest way is to follow me on social medias. At Scotty Scheller on Instagram, Scotty Scheller on YouTube, Scotty Scheller on TikTok. I'm just a fun guy. I just try to have fun. I try to be exciting. I try to mix it up. I'm not a one size fits all guy.
Yeah.
So if you want to follow the journey, you're more than welcome to.
I've never seen you when you weren't in a good state of mind, Scotty. You're always friendly and always asking about other people, genuinely concerned about other people, always referring to your faith. I like being around you. You're likable, man.
I
like being
appreciate it,
around
man.
you.
I love being around you too.
Thank you. Well, I hope today's episode helps you stand taller in your own shoes. Thank you.